You know what hurts more than getting cheated on? It's when the person you love the most starts treating your touch like it's something to avoid, like you're the problem, just for trying to be close. That was the night everything inside me flipped. No yelling, no fight, just a quiet moment in the dark that changed how I saw her and how I saw myself. Her name was Vanessa. We were married for 6 years. Lived just outside of Denver in a modest but comfortable house. Nothing fancy, but I was proud of it. I worked construction. Long days, longer weeks, sometimes Saturdays. I wasn't rich, but we never missed a bill. We had food, we had heat, we had Netflix and takeout on Sundays. From the outside, you'd think we were solid. But inside those walls, man, it had been hollow for months. At first, I told myself it was just a rough patch. She was stressed. Work was getting to her. Maybe it was hormones, maybe just burnout. I was patient. I backed off when she needed space. I cooked when she was too tired. I rubbed her feet, even when she didn't ask. But something changed. Subtle at first. Less eye contact. Fewer laughs. Her hugs started to feel more like polite pats than anything else. And when I kissed her, she'd barely move her lips. Just there. Physically present, but emotionally vacant. Still, I didn't press. I thought maybe she just needed time to reconnect. Maybe she was overwhelmed and didn't know how to say it. But the real breaking point came one night. It was late, maybe close to midnight. I had just finished fixing a water leak in the guest bathroom. She was already in bed, scrolling through her phone, blue light glowing on her face like it was the only thing keeping her company. I was tired, not just physically, but emotionally drained. I missed her, missed us. So I got in bed, turned off the lamp, and gently reached over. Not for sex, not for anything big. Just to hold her. Just to remind her I was there. I lay my hand on her side, soft, respectful. She flinched. Not dramatically, but enough. She pulled away slightly and muttered under her breath. Don't start. Don't start. Like I was a chore. Like my hand on her skin was a threat. Like I was some creep she tolerated because we happened to share a last name. I didn't move. I just laid there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, feeling something in my chest quietly collapse. She didn't say another word, just kept scrolling. A few minutes later, she rolled over and turned her back to me. And that was it. That's when something in me died. Not love, not yet, but that blind loyalty. That hope that maybe if I just waited long enough, she'd come around. That night, I realized something. She didn't see me as her man anymore. She saw me as background noise. And if I'm being honest, it wasn't just about that moment. It was about the build-up, the way she stopped laughing at my jokes, the way she only touched me when she needed something, the way she talked to her friends with more excitement than she ever showed me. I started thinking back. When was the last time she complimented me? Said she was proud? Hell, even looked me in the eyes without that dull, bored expression? I couldn't remember. I kept giving my time, my patience, my energy, and she treated it like it was expected, like I was just doing the bare minimum of what a husband should do. But she stopped being a wife a long time ago, and that's the part nobody ever talks about. People love to shame men for leaving, but they don't see what happens behind closed doors when you're being slowly erased from your own relationship. I didn't sleep that night. I got up early the next morning, made coffee like usual, and sat at the kitchen table alone. She came downstairs eventually, tied her hair up, and walked right past me like I was invisible. No good morning. No how'd you sleep. Just nothing. And you want to know the worst part? I still wanted her to notice me. Even after all that, even after being shut out emotionally, physically, mentally, I still wanted her to turn around and say, I'm sorry. I've been off. Let's talk. But she didn't. She poured her almond milk into her smoothie, checked her phone, and walked back upstairs. And that's when I made the real decision. Quietly, silently. I didn't confront her. I didn't ask her for anything. I didn't beg for a conversation. I just started removing myself. I stopped texting during the day to check in. Stopped planning dinners. Stopped asking what she wanted to watch. Stopped initiating affection. I became a ghost in my own home. Still paid the bills. Still folded laundry. Still showed up for the basic stuff, but my presence, my attention, my effort, gone. She didn't notice at first. Or maybe she did and didn't care. But I knew what I was doing. I was preparing myself to walk away, not out of spite, but because I deserved more than flinches in the dark and silence at the table. I started staying out later, gym after work, sometimes drinks with coworkers. I'd come home and she'd already be asleep, pretending not to notice the shift. But I knew she felt it, and slowly, she started reacting. The passive-aggressive questions began. "You've been staying out a lot, huh? Oh, you didn't cook tonight? I guess we don't talk anymore, do we?" But I didn't argue. I didn't bite, because now she was tasting the same emotional starvation she fed me for months. She didn't realize it yet, but I was already halfway gone. I wasn't being mean. I was finally being honest. And when a man removes his presence, I mean really withdraws, it shakes everything. Because it's no longer about punishment. It's about preservation. That woman who once flinched at my touch, she was about to learn what it feels like when a man who gave everything gives nothing. You know what makes a person lose their mind? When the thing they thought would always be there just isn't anymore. Not with a bang. Not with a breakdown. Just gone. Quiet. Clean. Cold. That's what I did. After months, maybe years, of chasing scraps of affection, begging for connection, reaching out only to get pulled back like I was doing something wrong, I finally stopped, but not in the way she expected. See, Vanessa was used to the idea of me being solid. Predictable. She knew my routines. Knew I'd always text when I left work. Knew I'd ask if she needed anything on the way home. Knew I'd make dinner, pay the bills, fold the towels the way she liked. She'd grown so used to me being there, even while she emotionally checked out, that I think she genuinely believed I didn't have it in me to leave. So when I started pulling back, I didn't slam the brakes. I just let go of the wheel. I ghosted her emotionally first. I stopped asking if she was okay. Stopped caring if she came home late. Stopped noticing the passive-aggressive comments. I just let them fall flat. No reaction. And when she started asking questions like, "Where are you going?" or "Why are you so distant?" I didn't offer explanations. I'd shrug, smile, say just busy, then walk out the door. I didn't want to argue. I wanted her to feel the emptiness she'd been giving me for months. I stopped sleeping in the same bed. Told her I was tossing and turning too much and didn't want to keep her up. Truth was, I couldn't stand being that close to someone who made me feel like a stranger in my own home. I moved to the couch, then to the guest room. Then, I started coming home later and later. I picked up a side gig, not because I needed the money, but because I needed space. I needed something that wasn't her. Somewhere I wasn't being made to feel like I was asking too much just by existing. I spent more time at the gym. Got serious about my body again. I started eating clean, lifting heavy. Every drop of sweat felt like a piece of resentment getting burned out of my system. I started running 5 miles a day. Alone. No music. Just my breathing, my thoughts, and the sound of shoes hitting pavement like a steady drumbeat of "I'm still here." I'm rebuilding. She noticed. Of course she did. At first, it was subtle. A comment here and there. "Oh, you're all about the gym now. You don't even try to talk to me anymore. What are you so happy about lately?" She said those things with a little smirk, like she was teasing, testing. But I didn't give her what she was looking for. I stayed calm, distant, not rude, not bitter, just unavailable. And that's when the shift started. She went from distant to uneasy. The silence she used to weaponize, it started working against her. She'd walk into the kitchen and find me already gone. I stopped leaving notes, stopped checking in. I'd come home, shower, and be in the guest room by 9 p.m., door closed, lights off, phone silent. And the more I disappeared, the more she started to unravel. One night she came into the guest room, stood in the doorway, arms crossed, and said, "Are you mad at me?" I looked up from my book, calm as ever. "Nope." "Well, you're acting like a ghost." I closed the book slowly and replied, "Funny, that's exactly how you made me feel for the past year." She didn't have anything to say to that. Just blinked, stood there, and left. From that point on, she started acting different. Cooking again, playing music in the kitchen, wearing makeup around the house. Like she was trying to recreate the version of herself she knew I once loved. But it was too late. Because you can't put a fire back in the fireplace after you've let it go cold for years. I wasn't rude. I was polite. I responded when she spoke. But I didn't engage. I didn't flirt. I didn't touch. I wasn't cruel. I was just done. Then came the night I truly disappeared. It was a Thursday. I waited until she was at work, packed a bag, and left. I didn't leave a note. I didn't send a text. I just walked out with my gym bag, my keys, and the peace that I had earned. I stayed at my buddy Eric's place for a while. He knew the story. He'd been telling me for months, "Man, you deserve better. She doesn't see you." And he was right. I crashed on his couch for a couple weeks while I got my own place in motion. Small apartment, quiet building, no drama, no tension. I bought a cheap couch, a new bed, and some plants. Sounds silly, but watering those plants every morning became part of my healing. Something about bringing life back into a space, it did something for me. Vanessa's reaction? Let's just say she snapped. She called me 13 times the first night. Left voicemails, voice trembling, fake calm. "Can we talk? Why are you doing this? Are you trying to punish me?" I didn't answer. She texted me the next morning. "If you needed space, why couldn't you just say so? I know I've been distant. I didn't realize how much you were hurting. Please don't ghost me like this. I can't breathe. Can't breathe." That's what I felt for months, gasping for love, affection, warmth, while she rolled her eyes at every attempt I made to keep us alive. And now she couldn't handle the silence she once used as a weapon. I didn't block her. I wasn't trying to play games. I just didn't respond, because anything I said at that point would have felt like an invitation, and I wasn't coming back. The next week, she showed up at my job. Yeah, full meltdown. Came to the front desk of the building I manage, tears in her eyes, voice shaky. "Dean, please just talk to me." I stepped outside. Calm, measured. She was a mess, makeup smeared, breathing uneven, hair tossed like she hadn't slept. She looked me in the eyes and said, "I didn't know what I had. I know I messed up, but please don't throw us away." And you know what I said? I looked at her, no anger, no satisfaction, just truth, and said, "You rejected me every night for a year. You shrugged off my presence like I was a burden. I'm not throwing anything away. You already did that. I'm just finally accepting it." She broke, right there in the parking lot, crying, sobbing, asking what she could do. But it didn't matter anymore. Because when a man removes his presence, really walks away, it's not out of hate. It's out of self-respect. It's funny how the same person who once acted like your presence was too much suddenly can't breathe without it. That's what happened with Vanessa. Once I ghosted her, it didn't take long for the cracks to start showing. At first, she tried to act calm, texting here and there, pretending like we were just having a moment, as if my disappearance was some emotional tantrum she could wait out. But it wasn't a moment. It was freedom. And deep down, she knew that. The first week after I left, she tried the soft approach. "Can we just talk?" And "I miss you" texts. I didn't reply. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because I had nothing left to give. You can't build a bridge when the other side already burned it down. She didn't know where I was staying. I had shut everything down clean. No paper trail. No explanation. I left like a whisper, quiet, but impossible to ignore. And when someone's used to having access to you all the time, that silence becomes unbearable. By the second week, the panic started to kick in. She began blowing up my phone. Calls, texts, voicemails. Each one more frantic than the last. The tone had changed completely. She was no longer asking me to talk. She was begging. One voicemail still plays in my head sometimes. Not because it hurts, but because it finally showed me the difference between who I was and who I'd become. Her voice was shaking. "Dean, I know I messed up. I know I've been cold, but I never thought you'd just disappear like this. I thought you'd fight for us. I didn't mean it like that. Please just call me back. I feel like I'm losing my mind." But here's the thing. She wanted me to fight when she had already surrendered. She wanted me to chase what she never protected. And I wasn't that man anymore. The silence continued. By week 3, she was unraveling. I started getting messages from mutual friends. "Hey, Vanessa's been asking about you. She told me she hasn't slept in days. She's really losing it, man. You should at least talk to her." But they didn't see what happened before the silence. They didn't see the months, the years of emotional starvation. The nights I rolled over hoping for touch and got the cold shoulder. The rejection, the dismissiveness, the way she made me feel invisible in the house I helped build. They didn't see me dying quietly while pretending to be okay. So no, I didn't know her closure. She had it. She gave it to herself the night she pulled away from my touch and looked at me like I was a stranger. That was her goodbye. She just didn't realize it yet. But the moment that sealed it, that came in public. It was a sunny Saturday. I was out at a small park downtown with a woman I had recently started seeing. Her name was Ava. She was everything Vanessa wasn't. Warm, curious, open-hearted. She didn't treat love like a transaction. She didn't wait until I was gone to notice my presence. We were sitting on a bench, laughing about something dumb, just enjoying the sun and each other's company. Nothing dramatic, nothing performative, just two people being. And that's when I saw her, Vanessa, walking fast, eyes locked on me, fury and heartbreak mixing on her face like a cocktail of panic. She didn't wait. She marched right up, completely ignoring Ava, and stood in front of me like I had personally betrayed her by moving on. "You're really just out here?" she said. Her voice cracked at the end, trying to stay tough, but already crumbling. I stood up, not aggressive, just calm. "Yeah, I am." "With her," she snapped, shooting Ava a quick glance. I didn't engage the pettiness. I just said, "You don't get to ask that." And that was it. That's when the dam burst. She started crying. Right there in front of strangers, in broad daylight, like a scene from a movie she never thought she'd be in. "You were supposed to come back," she cried. "You weren't supposed to just leave. What we had," she stopped mid-sentence, choking on her own breath. "What we had was real." I nodded. "It was. But it stopped being real when you started acting like I didn't matter." She stepped closer, her voice a whisper now. "I just didn't know how to fix it. I thought you'd always be there." I looked at her for a long time. Not with anger, not even with sadness, just understanding. And I said, "That's the problem. You thought I'd always be there, no matter how far you pushed me. But I left to protect myself, not to hurt you." She broke again, sobbing, shaking. Ava, who'd been silent the whole time, stood up and gently touched my arm. "I'll give you two a moment," she said softly, stepping away. But I shook my head. "No, there's nothing left to say." Vanessa looked at me like I had just stabbed her in the chest. "So that's it?" I shrugged. "That was at the moment you stopped trying. This is just the echo." She didn't chase me as I turned to walk away. She just stood there, arms limp, mouth slightly open, crying in the middle of a park bench where we used to sit together years ago. And me? I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel smug. I felt free. Not because I found someone new. Not because she cried. But because I finally learned the lesson that cost me years. When someone pulls away from your love, don't push harder. Step back. Watch. And if they never reach for you again, they were never holding your hand to begin with. It's a strange thing when someone you gave your life to suddenly starts talking like you're the thing that's holding them back. I wasn't perfect, I'll never claim that. But I was loyal, present. I took care of her, not just with money or chores. I showed up emotionally. I listened when she needed to vent. I supported her dreams, even the ones that didn't make sense to me. I did what a husband is supposed to do, and I did it with pride. But somewhere along the way, that stopped being enough. At first, it was subtle. Little phrases slipped into conversations. I just feel like I need space. Or sometimes I wonder who I'd be if I wasn't always in a relationship. She started reading a lot of those self-help blogs about reclaiming your identity, feminine power, and all that. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for growth. If you're lost, you deserve to find yourself. But I never once stopped her from being anything. I never clipped her wings. But suddenly, it was like I was the enemy of her progress. One night, we were brushing our teeth, not saying much, and she looked at me through the mirror and said, I think I need to find out what life is like without you." Just like that. No fight, no reason, no warning. Like she had already rehearsed it in her mind 1,000 times, and I was just the last person to find out. I froze, not because I didn't see it coming, but because I didn't think she would be the one to say it so coldly. I stood there, toothbrush in hand, and stared at her reflection. Her face didn't show sadness, just calm, like she had already detached and made peace with her decision long ago. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't fight it. Not because I didn't care, but because I was tired. Tired of being made to feel like my presence was a burden. Tired of walking on eggshells, wondering if today she'd smile at me or treat me like furniture. So I nodded. I rinsed my mouth. I said, "Okay." She blinked. I think part of her expected me to beg, to bargain, to fall apart. But I didn't. I just walked out of the bathroom and sat on the edge of our bed in silence. That night, we barely spoke. The house felt like a hotel lobby, cold, impersonal, silent. Two people under one roof, with nothing left holding them together. Over the next few days, she started throwing the word independent around like it was some kind of shield. I need to live for me now. I've always had this strong, independent woman inside me. I'm tired of being someone's wife. I want to just be me. And you know what? I listened. I didn't interrupt her. I let her say everything she needed to say. But deep down, I was mourning. Not just the marriage, but the version of her that used to be proud to build something together. The woman who used to call me her partner, her peace, her safe place. That woman was gone, replaced by someone who saw partnership as chains. I thought back to all the times I went out of my way to support her career. When she wanted to start a side business, I built her website, paid for the initial investment, helped with orders, even when I got home tired from my own job. When her car broke down, I didn't even hesitate. I gave her mine and took the bus for 2 weeks. And now, all of that was being rewritten in her head as dependency, like my love was some sort of leash. But that's the thing about people who are convinced they're oppressed by love. They rewrite the story to make themselves the hero, even if you were never the villain. The divorce was fast. She didn't want alimony, didn't want to fight over furniture or bank accounts. She just wanted out, clean and quick. She told her friends she was excited, said things like, "I'm finally going to live the life I want." I didn't respond to any of it. I kept it quiet, collected, dignified, but inside, I was grieving hard, not because I lost a wife, but because I realized how little I truly meant to her the moment I stopped being useful. I remember packing my things. That final morning, the apartment looked empty, even though most of the furniture was still there. It wasn't the space that felt hollow. It was the air, the energy, the love. Gone, replaced by this weird tension. She didn't cry, didn't ask me to stay, just watched silently as I zipped up my suitcase. I looked at her one last time, hoping, deep down, that she'd say something like, "I'm not sure about this," or "Can we talk?" But all she said was, "Take care of yourself." So I nodded, and I left. As I drove away, I had this quiet voice in the back of my mind. It didn't scream. It didn't sob. It just whispered, "You were never truly seen." And that realization, that I was more of a support system than a loved human being, hit harder than any heartbreak I've known. But I didn't get bitter. I got focused. Because the truth is, when a man who gave everything finally has nothing left to give, he becomes someone very dangerous to take for granted. The first thing she did after I walked out the door was post a picture of herself smiling, a filtered selfie with a caption, "New chapter, new energy, new me." I saw it. Of course I did. Mutual friends sent it to me without even asking. The comments were exactly what I expected. Heart emojis, "You go girl," "Freedom looks good on you," "Independent queen." And maybe for a second, she even believed it. Maybe she thought she'd just hit reset and life would bloom the way it does in the movies. What she didn't understand, at least not yet, is that real independence doesn't start with freedom. It starts with responsibility. And that was a language she hadn't learned yet. In that first week, she was glowing. Outwardly, she went out every night, dinner with her girls, drinks at that new rooftop place, late night dancing, stories filled with laughter, clinking glasses, and captions like, "I feel alive again and needed this." People applauded it, celebrated it, because nobody sees the full picture. Nobody asks what really goes on after the stories expire and the mascara comes off. They just tap and keep scrolling. But behind that glittery show was a growing silence she didn't know how to handle. See, when she was married to me, there were things she never had to think about. The fridge never emptied without being filled again. The lights were always on. The rent never crossed her mind. If her tire pressure was low, she told me, and I fixed it before she even had to look at a gauge. Now, suddenly that safety net was gone, and it didn't take long for her to feel it. Day 3, She realized her car battery was dying. She called her brother. He didn't pick up. Then she called her mechanic, but it was a holiday. So she stood in the parking lot of her building, heat blazing down, holding jumper cables she didn't know how to use. She posted a story of her feet and wrote, "Ugh, adulting is hard," with a laughing emoji. But she wasn't laughing. That night, she Ubered to the store, bought groceries, or at least what she thought were groceries. Snacks, drinks, frozen meals. She spent more than she meant to, and it hit her at the register. No more joint bank account. No more silent help in the background. Just her now. Just that sinking feeling when your car declines and you're pretending to be cool about it. By day 5, her apartment felt smaller, emptier. The TV didn't sound the same without someone sitting next to her. Her phone buzzed less. People she thought would be there every night suddenly stopped replying. Because people have their own lives, their own routines. And when the novelty of being this single girl fades, what you're left with is your own voice. And that voice isn't always kind. She made herself dinner that night. A rush plate of microwave pasta. Sat on the couch. Looked around. It was dead quiet. No one asking how her day was. No background noise of me on the phone with work. Just silence. And dishes in the sink. At some point, she opened a drawer and found one of my old t-shirts. Worn, soft, with a small oil stain on the collar. She held it. Probably smelled it. Probably remembered the night she stole it from me because it smelled like home. But now that scent meant something else. It meant gone. The bed was colder now. The place where I used to sleep was untouched. She stretched out at first, enjoying the space. But space becomes emptiness real fast when you have no one to reach for at 2 a.m. By day 6, she had started looking at her old texts, scrolling through photos. The vacation last fall, the time we got caught in the rain walking back from dinner, laughing like kids. The messages where I told her I loved her out of nowhere, just because. She left most of them on read back then. Now, she was rereading each one like they were verses from forgotten prayer. Her strong, independent identity started to tremble. Not because she wasn't capable, but because she had never actually done it alone. The version of independence she had built in her mind didn't include stress, isolation, financial pressure, or the weight of true solitude. It was all brunches and self-care and filtered light through her apartment window. She used to say she didn't need anyone. But now, the echo of her own voice in the apartment was proof that being alone wasn't as romantic as the quotes on Instagram made it sound. And on the 7th day, she broke. It was late. I remember that clearly. I had just turned off the lights in my new place, a small, clean apartment I had picked to start over. Quiet. Still smelled like fresh paint and possibility. My phone buzzed. I saw her name. I didn't answer right away. A few minutes later, a text came through. "I know it's late. I'm sorry. I miss you. And I need you." I stared at the screen for a while. Not because I didn't expect it, but because I did. I had known this would happen. Not because I'm arrogant or cruel, but because I knew her. I knew she wasn't ready for what she thought she wanted. She thought walking away from me would open the door to freedom. What she didn't understand is that freedom without foundation crumbles fast. She missed me, but not just me. She missed having someone to lean on, someone who made her feel grounded, safe, whole. She missed the version of herself that existed when I was there, the one who didn't have to carry everything on her own. And now, the silence had grown teeth. It was no longer peaceful. It was sharp, constant, telling her the truth she didn't want to hear. Independence means nothing when it costs you the only person who ever had your back. But by the time she realized that, something had already changed. Me. Her message sat on my screen like a ghost of the woman I used to know. "I miss you. I need you." 6 words. Quiet. Simple. But loaded with everything she had refused to say when it mattered. I read it 3 times. Not because I didn't understand it the first time, but because I wanted to make sure I wasn't imagining things. This was the same woman who, just a week ago, looked me in the eye and told me she wanted freedom, that she needed space, that she didn't need anyone, especially not me. And now here she was, not defiant, not proud, not empowered, just small, broken, reaching for something she let go without ever fully understanding what it was. I didn't answer right away. not to punish her, but because I needed time to listen to myself. The old me, the man I used to be when I was with her, would have jumped at that message, would have called back in seconds, heart pounding, desperate for any sign that she cared, that she regretted pushing me away, that maybe, just maybe we could fix things. But that version of me no longer existed. He was gone, replaced by a man who had spent the last 7 days facing silence and finding peace inside it. I had sat with my own thoughts, made coffee in the morning with no one there to drink it with, stared at empty walls, slept on a half-made bed, but I didn't crumble. I didn't fall apart. I didn't scroll through old photos hoping to feel something again. Instead, I felt relief. Relief that I didn't have to beg anymore, that I didn't have to keep proving my worth to someone who was blind to it until it was gone. So when I finally picked up the phone the next day, I did it not with hope, but with clarity. Her voice was softer than I remembered, shaky, like she was trying to hold it together, but the silence between us was pressing down too hard. "Hey," she said. "Hi." A pause. "I know it's probably weird to hear from me," she started. I didn't know who else to call." That line said everything. She didn't know who else to call. Not because I was the only person who could answer, but because I was the only person who ever showed up when it counted. That hit me hard. Not as a compliment, but as a realization. She didn't miss me. She missed the version of her life that came with me in it. So I asked gently, "What's going on?" She hesitated, then all spilled out. She was tired, emotionally drained. Everything felt heavy. She wasn't sleeping well. The apartment felt empty. Her friends had their own lives. Her freedom didn't feel like freedom anymore. It felt like abandonment, but self-inflicted. She didn't say those exact words, but I could hear it in everything she wasn't saying. "I thought I was ready to be on my own," she whispered. "But I don't think I am." I leaned back on the couch and looked out the window. The city was quiet that morning. A few birds, some passing cars. Nothing dramatic, just life happening. And I realized I was okay. Really okay. Not pretending. Not surviving. Just at peace. "I get it," I finally said. "I really do." Another pause. "Do you think there's any way we could maybe fix things?" That question didn't surprise me. I'd already prepared for it in my mind. Rehearsed 100 different ways it could come. But when it arrived, I felt nothing. No butterflies. No excitement. Just sadness. Not for me, but for her. Because she really thought this could be undone. I took a breath. Slow. Grounded. "I don't think I can go back to who I was," I said. Not because I don't care, but because that version of me, the one who tolerated being overlooked, ignored, unappreciated, I buried him. She said nothing. Just quiet breathing on the other end. "I tried, you know. I gave everything I had. And when you walked away, I realized that I'd been loving someone who only saw my value after she felt my absence." "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said, voice cracking. "I know," I replied. "But you did. And not with words, with actions, with the way you chose yourself, and only remembered me when life got too heavy to carry alone." I could hear her crying now, but I didn't fold. I didn't say the words she wanted to hear. I didn't offer hope, because for once, I was choosing me. "You were right," I continued. "You are an independent woman. But part of being independent is living with the choices you make. And you chose a life without me." She tried to talk, to explain, to make sense of her feelings. But it was too late for clarity, too late for self-discovery, because the man she thought would always be there had finally walked past the point of no return. And here's the truth most people won't admit. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, it's getting better. It's finding peace where there used to be pain. It's becoming the version of yourself they never believed you could be, and choosing not to share it with them. I didn't hang up on her. I let her speak. I let her cry. I let her say everything she needed to say. And then I said goodbye. No anger. No drama. Just goodbye. She texted a few more times in the days after. Just small things. "Hope you're okay. Thinking of you. I miss us." I didn't reply. Not to be cruel, but because I had already said everything I needed to say. And that was the final lesson she learned. Love is not about who says they need you. It's about who acts like they value you while they still have you.